Bring him to the microphone. He's the current sitting MP for Barataria. He is a man who destroys the PNM in the parliament. A man, a brilliant lawyer. He studied hard and got honors. A bright young attorney. Calling to you, the current member and the next member for Barataria San Juan, Saddam Hosein.
Yeah. Never let your problems get you down.
Thank you very much. All I have to tell Wayne and Devish, take that. Good night, political leader. And the next Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Member of Parliament for Saparia. Dr. Bisesa, members of the National Executive, Senators, members of Parliament, those in the local government fraternity, and most importantly, the soldiers, the honest soldiers, hard-working soldiers of United National Congress. You have come out in your masses tonight, and I can tell you I have a fever. And that fever is the election fever. Tonight's crowd feel as though that the election bell has already rung. So it could be Rowley ringing or Young ringing. We are ready, and we're going to beat you. We're going to beat you. We're going to beat you. Trinidad and Tobago, we are in a state of emergency. And not because the president announced it. It is because this is a government led by Keith Christopher Rowley. We are in an emergency. Can you imagine a state of emergency has been called? You would expect all hands to be on deck. You would expect them to be in Port of Spain listening to the intelligence agencies, listening to all of the policy decisions that they have to make, governing from the front, leading from the front. Today they have on swim trunks and bikini in Tobago. Probably diving in Pigeon Point. When Trinidad and Tobago is in a state of emergency because we heard what? There's reprisal killing in Port of Spain. We are hearing about massive amount of murders that will happen. So the night before, I think Monday was the state of emergency. Sunday night, you had a Brambai house in Tobago. And then Monday morning, bright and early, we hear state of emergency. We hear state of emergency. Keith Christopher Rowley, that is, they went on this retreat in Tobago, but after the retreat, he has surrendered. After the retreat, he has surrendered. And we don't want Rowley alone gone. It must be all of them must go. All of them must go. They must go. And when we really go through what the state of emergency is, it really doesn't make sense. Because these ministers are retreating. I hear the Commissioner of Police praying yesterday. And then they want us to be vigilant about what is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago. I want to tell the Commissioner tonight, Madam, go out and fight crime. We will pray for you. We will pray for you. And Keith Christopher Rowley is a maha hypocrite. He is one of the biggest hypocrites I know. In 2011, this man up and down Port of Spain telling the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, if I was the Prime Minister, I would never call a state of emergency to deal with crime. You know you call a state of emergency to deal with crime? A maha hypocrite. That is what Keith Rowley is. That is what he is. But I want to go through some statistics because you know I like to do my research. In the last 5 days, you will think that there would have been a reduction in the number of crimes, murders, and so on. These are numbers I got from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We had 3 murders in the state of emergency, one being an attorney at law gunned down all year's night. We had an attempted murder. We had sexual offenses. We had 9 robbery with violence, 9 larceny of motor vehicles, 13 breaking and entering offenses, 6 possession of firearm and ammunition, fire and ammunition found and seized 9, possession of narcotics 20, missing person 5. Over the last 5 days. These are numbers coming out of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and we are in a state of emergency. We're in a state of emergency, and I'll tell you why this state of emergency simply does not make sense. We have supported legislation in the parliament. Wayne told us about the number of legislation Faris brought. We said, okay, you want it, we'll give you the support. Go and fight crime. It has failed. We have supported over 35 pieces of crime-fighting legislation. So do not let the PNM fool you. When you look at the emergency regulations, those are the regulations that the president would have made based on the direction given by the government in order to implement the state of emergency. So there's Regulation 8. Hear what it says. It says, any person who without lawful authority, the burden of proof as to the lawful authority laying upon him, purchases, acquires, or has in his possession any firearm, ammunition, or explosive is guilty of an offense. I find this strange. So the emergency powers regulation is telling you if you're in possession of firearms, ammunition, explosive, you are committing an offense. You know Section 6 of the Firearms Act already makes that an offense? So the law that they placed in the emergency regulations can be found in existing legislation. And you know what is even more comical? If they charge you under the emergency powers regulation, under the state of emergency, the fine is $100,000 and imprisonment for 5 years. You know, if you get charged under the Firearms Act, which is the existing law, the first offense is $500,000 and 15 years in prison. So you have an even harsher penalty under the existing law and a lesser penalty under the state of emergency law. Most of these regulations that they have proclaimed are already found in existing law. All you want the next one? Regulation 9. Big power. Gives the police to stop and search any person on the street or public place who they suspect of having a firearm, ammunition, or explosive. Section 27 of the Firearms Act. Where a police officer has reasonable cause to suspect that any person is carrying a firearm, ammunition, or pepper spray in a public place, contrary to the provisions of the Act, the police officer may search that person, may seize and retain any firearm, ammunition, or pepper spray carried by that person. The same thing in the emergency powers regulation can be found in the Firearms Act. Let me give you a next one. They talk about anti-gang legislation because this entire state of emergency was prompted because, again, of the reprisal killing. I had the opportunity to read the statement delivered by the president to the speaker that was circulated to the parliamentarians today. Monday, we will be in parliament debating that. So they have a big power here now that they want to, under Regulation 14, to detain a person without charge on inquiries for a period of 48 hours. And then extend that period for 7 days, but it must be done by an ASP or a magistrate. Do you know under the Anti-Gang Act 2021, which we supported, at Section 16 says that a police officer without a warrant can detain a person not exceeding 48 hours if he has reasonable cause to believe he's committing an offense under the Anti-Gang Act. And it even goes further at 16, 5, and 6 that says that if the police needs more than 24 hours, they could go by a judge to extend it for 7 days. So it's the same exact thing in the state of emergency is found in the existing law. Keith Rowley, you should tear up all them emergency regulations because they are already in existing law. You have done nothing new. You already have the laws. We gave you the support. Go out and fight crime. But I want to tell you something. You have numbered your days. We didn't number your days for you. You have numbered your days. All we are waiting for, my brothers and sisters, is for the election bell to ring. I have much more that I can tell you about bail restriction. I can tell you about issues relating to the preventative detention that they are already parts of the law that can be utilized, but they are too lazy. They are too lazy to give the police resources so that they can go to a judicial officer and get warrants. And these warrants, you don't have to tell the accused that you're going for them. You know. It is done ex parte. You go by yourself in front of the judge and say, listen, I need to get this warrant to go and lock up this man. He have gun, he have ammunition. Right? So they are too lazy to implement their own law that they have passed. Now, there's the last one that he now implements is this. He gives the police now, the defense force, soldiers, the same powers of police officers to arrest, to detain, and so on. You know the same Keith Rowley, when the People's Partnership government brought a miscellaneous provisions defense and police complaints bill in 2013. Say that Kamala want to get Solia police. Today, Keith Rowley have Solia police walking up and down Trinidad and Tobago. Maha hypocrite. He is one of the biggest hypocrites I ever seen in my life. I wouldn't go so far. But my brothers and sisters, we on this side, we have the plans. We have the policies. We have the people. And most importantly, we have the leader. And we will take you into government. We will ensure that when the election bell is rung, that we will do our best to remove this Rowley-led PNM government out of power and return Kamala Persad-Bissessar as your Prime Minister with a United National Congress government. I thank you very much.